Hare
Prabhu,
Krishna, are you able to hear me?
yes, Prabhu, I can hear you now. Yes, you can
Oh,
start.
somehow it got disconnected. So,
Yes,
oh,
Prabhu.
why this is something goofy is happening? Okay, okay, Prabhu, so we'll start.
Yes, Prabhu, you can start.
Okay, Prabhu, yeah. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुर्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्तुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारणं श्रीगुरुं दीनतारणं श्रीगुरुं दीनतारणं परमानन्दमाधवं परमानन्दमाधवं परमानन्दमाधवम्। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for joining today's call. So we glorify Srimad Bhagavatam as a community. So I just thought to share some of the things that I have gathered for this class. So as we all know, Srimad Bhagavatam, the source of Srimad Bhagavatam and the past time, how it has manifested. So Vedavyas, after compiling the entire Vedic literature, still he was not content. He was not satisfied. So at that time, the Narad Muni, who advises him or instructs him, you have compiled so much vast Vedic literature. But the thing is, entire that compilation is all about the different material nature and all about that one. So it's kind of a dry matter. But you did not compile the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. So if you compile, then you will feel content when you will be satisfied. So this particular pastime is very relevant for us also. Why? Because in our material life also, if you look at there are so much voluminous information is available in the form of books, now in the form of digital age, in the form of digital information, so much is available, but nothing attracts us or helps us to feel content and satisfied. So even on the mundane platform, whether you are a child, whether you are a adult, you always like to hear the stories, right? Suppose if there is a lecture is going on and the speaker is talking elaborately, giving you all the details, like statistics, is quoting all the facts and all those things. But 99% of the people that do not attract. But the moment when the speaker talks about the stories, everybody, no matter whether they child or a adult or old person, everybody will glue to the hearing. Why? Because that is the natural tendency of the soul to hear the some stories. Then what to speak of hearing about the pastimes of the Supreme Lord Himself. Now, one clear distinction I want to make it here. You might know about this, but most of the times I try to clarify because the word story and pastimes, this is very important for us in what context and how it is used. Now, story means it could be a imagination which may not have happened or which may have happened. So that is in general, when the moment we say story means what it has become is it's an imaginatory story. It doesn't not necessarily took place or it happened. But when we use the word past times in context of describing the Supreme Lord when he descended onto the planet Earth or wherever he is, how, what kind of activities he performed. In that context, to very clear, crystal clear, we use the word past time, the past times. Meaning past times means which already happened. Okay, so it is very important. Srimad Bhagavatam is the narration of the Supreme Lord activities when he was descended to planet Earth, various pastimes. So this is not a imaginary book because we have seen, right? Very interestingly, uh, the the world's the top three literatures that are in widely published and widely distributed among the citizens of the world. The number one is um, the Bible. Number two is Harry Potter, and number three is Bhagavad Gita. So look at that. Because of the Srila Prabhupada's efforts, is a pure devotee. Because of that, now Srimad Bhagavad Gita is widely known not only in India but also across the globe. So, importantly, observable thing is the Harry Potter, which is in the second position, which is totally a fiction or imaginary subject or imaginary. It didn't happen, but it is imaginary. So people are so glued to that one. Now, what to speak of Srimad Bhagavatam? It is the pastimes or the activities performed by the Lord Himself. So that itself is signifies the importance and the gravity of the Srimad Bhagavatam. There is nothing more we can simplify. But we are jivas and we like to, because we have a combination of listening, I mean, eagerness to listen to the Lord's pastimes, and at the same time, different things, right? So Srimad Bhagavatam talks about so many things. Now, in that context, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also emphasized the importance of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Rupa Goswami, whose literature is we follow, and also, as you know, we are considered as Rupanugas, meaning Rupa followers of Rupa Goswami. His literature and the literature given by the Rupa Goswami is nothing but from the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu empowered Rupa Goswami to write this great literature, or the literature that we follow. And then another important thing at this moment I want to highlight, we are followers of Radharani. We don't approach Krishna directly. We approach Krishna through Radharani, because that is the best thing that we can. See, it was so amazing that recently I was listening in Vrindavan, the Vrindavan Vasis don't trust Krishna, they trust Radharani. Now, when I heard that, it was very curious. Why? Because ultimately he is the Supreme Lord. But in Vrindavan, the people are not, they don't trust Krishna, but they trust Radharani. Then I was bewildered. What is this? Now, the speaker explained that Radharani, Krishna, after his activities, all of a sudden, he just left Vrindavan and went to Madura, right? To take the rest of his activities. But whereas Radharani was always there. So they are very confident that Radharani is the only one can be with them. That is the reason they don't trust Krishna. Very beautifully it was put. So that is the reason we are also approach Krishna through Radharani. And there are different grades of devotional services rendered, and the way they approach. So, out of all, then, in a nutshell, the Gopi Bhava, the Bhava of the Gopis is the topmost. There is nothing beyond that. And it was very beautifully said in a comparison, right? In when we are in the society, we like to be comparing because we want to know, right? Even when you go to purchase of a car, what you do, because we have in the marketplace there are so many cars available, then you will put a comparative to sheet. Okay, at the end of the day you want to get a good value out of your money. We call it as simply ROI, right? So similarly in the transcendental practice, in our spiritual practice also, there is a different grades, right? So in that, Radharani is in that the Gopi Bhava is the topmost. There is no beyond that one. And within that Gopis, Radharani, how she um, performs uh, activities with Krishna, that is the topmost. So we are followers of the Radharani. And then, so there are few things I want to, in the context of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the glorification. So I want to uh, talk about a few things. Srila Sanatan Goswami, very beautifully, he compiles, explains uh, the glories of the Mahatmya of the Srimad Bhagavatam. He says, सर्वशास्त्राद्रिपीयूषा सर्ववेदैकसत्फला सर्वसिद्धान्तरत्नाध्य रत्नाध्या सर्वलोकैक दृक्प्रधा सर्वभागवत प्राण श्रीमद्भागवत प्रभो कलि द्वन्द्वोदित द्वन्द्वोददित्या श्रीकृष्ण परिवर्तिता. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O nectar churned from the ocean of all the Vedic scriptures, you are the most prominent transcendental fruit of the Vedas and are enriched with the jewels of all philosophical conclusions. You grant spiritual vision to all people of the world and are the very life breath of the Vaishnava devotees. O Lord, you are the sun which has risen to dispel the darkness of Kali Yuga. Actually, your Lord Krishna, who has returned among us. Very beautifully, Sanatan Goswami is glorifying here. And we all know that, right? Samudra Madan, the churning of the ocean. So out of the churning of the ocean, there are so many beautiful things have manifested. And is comparing in that context, the Vedic literature is humongous beyond our comprehension, how much it is. And out of that, Vedavyas has compiled in the written form for the age of Kali Yuga. That itself, to read and to digest and to practice this lifetime is not enough at all. Even forget about grihasthas, because we are entangled with so many other activities. Even brahmacharis, even sannyasis, even if they dedicate their entire life, it is impossible to go through the entire literature and come to a conclusion and perfect their life. It's beyond. So that is the reason here Sanatan Goswami is saying, oh nectar, it is the churning of the entire Vedic literature. This is the ultimate thing that we got. So beautiful, right? We don't need to spend our lifetime reading the entire thing. Just take the cream and then run with that. So that is the beauty of this churning of the Vedic scriptures, ocean of the Vedic scriptures, Srimad Bhagavatam. And then another thing also said, right? When we Srimad Bhagavatam, when we glorify, um, because the Vedavyas compiles this, and then the first time it is uttered uh, by whom? Uh, Okay, so we'll come to that one. So it is enriched with, and then so here another thing Sanatan Goswami is saying, it is the fruit of the Veda. See, fruit. See, a tree is there. The what is the ultimate benefit of the? We enjoy the tree. It is in the form of the fruits. So he says that the ultimate conclusion of all those jewels is the Srimad Bhagavatam. And also further he goes and says, Vaishnava devotees. For the Vaishnavas, this is a life breath. Now, the Sanatan Goswami, Acharyas are very, they don't use any word just like that. They use the words in such a way that it brings the very purpose of that whole thing. So here, the word life breath of Vaishnava devotees, he says. So now, the moment the breath is stops, that means the body is no longer active, the soul has gone. So, for Vaishnava devotees, is comparing with the life breath. You very beautifully he says. So now, how important this Srimad Bhagavatam, this life breath, very beautifully describes. So now we should embrace this literature and read. See, till recently, I mean, I was more focusing on Bhagavad Gita and other things. And when this series started, I don't know, somehow my attraction for the Bhagavatam has enhanced many folds. So now here, see, sometimes we may be from the childhood, we are exposed to so many things, and then we may not properly sometimes get attracted or understand the significance. But when the glorification, when we attentively hear, and also situations, different situations, even though you hear the same thing in some time back, but depends on time, circumstance, and situations, that bulb will glow. So that happened for me. And now I am so eager to read this Bhagavatam. Now, today, when I'm compiling the findings and the literature given by our acharyas, this very word, life breath, very attracted to me because without breath, I'm dead, nothing there in me. So for me and Vaishnava devotees, he is saying Bhagavatam reading is that way. And next, he's comparing Bhagavatam with sun, right? Just imagine today, if you look at outside, it's very cloudy, and uh, and when there is no sun, everything is dark, right? So the sun dispels the darkness. So it is very important that Srimad Bhagavatam I should start reading more seriously on a note. And then finally he says. Um, uh, the Srimad Bhagavatam is none other than Lord Krishna himself. None other than Lord Krishna himself. See, often the book form, because sometimes when we come to spiritual practice, some of the jugglery or words or sentence we hear, it may shake us. What is this? How can they say a book is a person? Because that is my tiny brain may not comprehend the deep meaning in it. But as gradually when we hear from devotees, then our darkness will dispels. So that is the beauty of the transcendental literature. So, in a nutshell, Sanatan Goswami very beautifully puts this one. Just to highlight, he first compares it is the essence of the Vedic scriptures. Then he compares it is the topmost literature that it's like compare. The second analogy is a tree. It is the fruit, and the third analogy he compares this the life breath, which is very essential. And fourth one, he says it is like a sun dispelling the darkness. And finally, he says it is nothing but Krishna himself. Very beautifully, these 5 points are enough for me to uh, to uh, determine. I mean that this is a literature I should seriously focus. I don't need to indulge in any other literatures, given the age and given the time I have in my life. So I don't have much time, and this is the time I should embrace this. Okay, another one. परमानंद पतय प्रेम वर्ष अक्षरयते सर्व सेव्याया श्री कृष्ण नमोस्तु मे. O Srimad Bhagavatam, I offer respectful obeisances unto you, but your recitation one attains transcendental bliss because your syllables shower down the pure love of God. You are to be served by everyone always, for you are in the incarnation of the Lord Krishna. And very beautifully, the Acharyas are glorifying. One more thing. Madhyeka bhando, mat sangin, mat guru, man mahabdhana, man nishtaraka, mad bhagya, mad ananda, namostute. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O my only friend, companion, and teacher, O my great wealth and deliverer, O my good fortune and bliss, I offer respectful obeisances unto you. Very beautifully in the sloka, it is said that friend, companion, and teacher, right? In our life also, what we look in, even if we are not, let's say, on the spiritual path, whom we look always for friends, right? Friends are the one always they are like a shadow for us in our up and downs. When we are in happy mood, we share our happiness with them. When we are in distress or when we are in trouble, they come to our rescue. And then companion. So in uh, in Grihastha life, we get married. What we lifelong we want a companion. And then even in material life, to progress in our material, we go to universities, we go to school, we need teacher. Similarly, that all those three roles are fulfilled by the Srimad Bhagavatam. Because when you read, you are not just reading, you are in connecting with the Krishna, Supreme Lord Himself. He's a friend, he's a companion, and he's a teacher. So very beautifully, author gives that comparison. Now another thing. Asadau sadhuta dain atini chocha takara Hanamamuncha kadachin mam premna hrata kantayoh spruha. Okay. Another thing, um, we talked about glorification by the Sanatana Goswami. And then Sanatana Goswami, he said the Bhagavatam is none other than Krishna himself. So in Padma Purana, it is very beautifully described. There are 12 cantos in the Bhagavatam. So, and they are compared. The first and second cantos of the Bhagavatam are nothing but they are Krishna's lotus feet. This you might have heard. So, because when we say Bhagavatam is a person, means person, a personality will have all these things, right? All these limbs. So, the Bhagavatam also, the limbs are there. So, how beautifully it is in the Padma Purana, it is described. And then third and fourth cantos are the Krishna's thighs. And then fifth canto is his navel. And the sixth canto is the chest. And seventh and eighth cantos are his arms. And the ninth canto is his throat. And the 10th canto is his beautiful lotus face. And the 11th canto is his forehead. And the 12th canto is head. So, and it is very nicely in the Padma Purana, it is said that all these 11 cantos are prepping for us to see the reached in the 12th canto, whereas his head, right? So it's very beautifully, all the limbs are how they are connected. So this particular glorification by the Padma Purana is sufficient for us to feel and to come to conclusion that Srimad Bhagavatam is none other than the Lord Krishna himself. Now, some people may ask, oh, in the form of deity, can we worship every day? Sure, why not? When we say it's a supreme personality, God himself, well, if you don't want that, you can Bhagavatam itself every day. You can offer all the rituals that we do when the deity form is there. Nothing wrong, but it's clearly said that, right? So the bhava, the conscious is that always that matters, nothing else. Externalities are to prepping to go into that conscious. Now, another thing, so Srimad Bhagavatam deals with 10 topics, and they are mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the second canto, chapter 10 and 1, first shloka. So it's very beautifully said. We'll just briefly go through them because we started with glorification, then we saw how Srimad Bhagavatam is Krishna himself. Now we are seeing what are the 10 those the topics that Srimad Bhagavatam is dealing. Because right, when we go perform anything in this material world, we want to know the what is in it for me, right? It's called what is in W in it. WI, there is a radio station, right? And that it's an acronym. What is in it for me? So it is like because we don't want to do right in material world. Now, if you see a businessman, very focused. See, that is the difference between, see, even in our mundane life, sometimes we think, oh, what is a big deal? Employee, being an employee, I can think, oh, because we are working hard, that is the reason the employer is able to sustain. See, the other way around also is very important. It is not easy to be an employer, to be a businessman. The headaches that they go through, an employee cannot handle. Similarly, um, we want to know, right? So the focus, vyavasayatmika buddhi is very important because especially in the current digital world, it is very important. See, often we say in Kali Yuga, the process is very easy. But in my opinion, all yugas, the processes are given according to the caliber of that yuga's citizens. Now in Kali Yuga, it's not easy for us. We are bombarded left and right. And Srimad Bhagavatam is clearly proclaims that Kali Yuga, symptoms of Kali Yuga is quarrelsome and always dissatisfied. So when this situation, how can we focus? So the process is simplified. Even that process to follow is not that easy. So I clearly say that in every yoga, the process is given according to the, the strength and the capacity of the citizens. How a doctor administers the dose of a medication depending on the patient. He cannot prescribe the same medicine for everybody. No, that is what we see. Suppose it's a mild, we say, okay, it's over the counter. Anybody takes, fine. It's because it's not dose heavy. But the prescribed medicine has to be prescribed by the doctor only. If I go to a medical shop, they don't give me that. For that I need a doctor's prescription. Similarly, the literature is also so huge. We need to understand what is in it for me. So here in the Srimad Bhagavatam second canto, this sloka very beautifully put. Atra sargo visarghascha stanam poshanam utthayah manvantare sankutta nirodho muktir ashaya. Okay, the first one, Sarga, universal creation by the Supreme Lord. See, the Bhagavatam is not only the pastime, it also the dry philosophers, because sometimes in the society we see, right, philosophical discussion keeps on unending. I had a colleague when I was working with in my ex company. There was one guy, he loves abstract, they call it abstract discussion. So they unendingly keep on discussing, and from a devotee perspective, it's merely waste of time. You put arguments, counter arguments, it goes on like that. Then what is the use? Such use. But here, the because we also bewildered, right? How this whole universe is created. It's a very mesmerizing subject because when you look at sky, because we are so ingrained in a rat race, how often we even enjoy the nature. Very, very yearly once, luckily, if we go on a trip, if we go for a, uh, then at least you may enjoy. But in our so busy lives, we are forget to even appreciate the nature. It's see, in my childhood, we used to sleep outside, um, and then when we sleep, all the lights are done, gone, and then you just look at the stars. And when you gaze the stars, it's so beautiful. It's amazing. Then when you think how this whole thing, how these stars came, it mind-boggling. You know, that see the people who are closer to the nature, they appreciate the creator. Unfortunately, we live in a concrete jungle. Of course, we see these big bungalows, big skyscrapers. We appreciate them. It's natural. Whatever you see, that gigantic thing you appreciate. But when you look at the nature, it's much beyond even we skyscrapers, 200 floors, whatever X floors, X number of floors. That is a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction when you look at the sky. So unfortunately, we lost that. But now, at least the reading the Bhagavatam scripture will which will awake us to look into that. So it talks about how this whole universe is manifested. Is very beautiful. And Visarga, now it talks about the secondary creation. See, the first Sarga, the universe is created by the Supreme Lord. So everything is created. Then the secondary creation, who is the secondary creation creator is Lord Brahma. But Lord Brahma, he did so much tapasya because when this whole thing is created, everything pitch dark. He didn't know what to do. Then he approaches the Supreme Lord, meditating upon that. The Supreme Lord gives this knowledge, what to do and how to create this, the secondary creation. So secondary creation by the Lord Brahma. That is also in detail described. Then it talks about sthanam. positioning of the living entities in various planetary systems, right? See, now in the Vedic literature, we say that the jivas not only here, but there are so many other planetary systems. So it's very astonishing that the scientists recently they started believing that there are other galaxies which are similar to us, where the life exists. See, they are also now coming to the little bit awareness. But whereas our scriptures are already said, and it is compared the current where we are residing, that particular world or creation is like a is a one mustard seed, like in a bag full of mustard seeds. Now, when I first time I heard, oh boy, what is that? Now look at that. Bha- Literature is already giving that. That is the reason in the we also hear right? The spiritual world, three-fourths, and the material world, only one-fourth, ekapada. So look at that. The spiritual world is so much is there. And now being in this one-fourth and being in this world, being in the seven continents, if you drill down all the way, then the seven continents, and then the country, and then state, and then city, and then within that city, our small subdivision, and within that small subdivision, our home. In contrast, if you look at this whole, when we dissect, our position is insignificant. Even probably insignificant is very, very, very big word. So that is the existence of mind. So what to speak of a entire thing? When we look at this perspective, it humbles me. I'm nothing. I'm nothing. I'm just merely a tiny, tiny, insignificant dust particle. So these are all when we read spiritual literature like Bhagavatam, it brings that us and we understand. And also, not only it humbles us, not it also alleviates us from the miseries. Now, when we realize that, then we are not subject to these ups and downs of the day-to-day life. You know, we get sometimes a job and we get all of a sudden something happens, get fired. No matter whatever it, that spiritual lens puts us matra sparshas to kaunteya. Bhagavad Gita, see, earlier these days, Bhagavad Gita is starting corporations also, because if you look at, there are very unfortunate situations. CEOs, we consider they are very, very affluent and they have reached the pinnacle of the success. And those guys are suiciding, they are committing suicides. Why? There is so much stress. See, Bhagavad Gita is start now these days in the corporations. And I heard in the where in Gujarat, in one of the university, it is introduced as one of the syllabus. What a great thing! This subject matter has to be taught in our university schools. Look at that. It should not be looked as a religious matter. Look at the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. Now, perfect example. We all know this sloka, right? Karmanye vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbuhu mate sangostva karmani. What a beautiful sloka to relieve this stress. It says that just perform your duty, Baba. Don't think you are the doer, and don't think you are the the creator or the results because of you. What a beautiful sloka, right? That relieves all these CEOs. I wish they had learned, studied the Bhagavad Gita. Then they don't need to worry. Okay, I am doing my best. I will give a best. I will give a best shot. If it happens, fine. If it doesn't happen, that's also fine. Okay, so what? What happens? If the most they may get fired. What? With a CEO with his caliber, can't he go for other things? So, what is the end of the life? Why they are committing suicides? For what? For fame? For not making their target? So what? Still, you get a big fat paycheck. Why you commit? See, this is the reason when the soul is not nourished with the right source of things, it becomes very heavy. It's very, see, for me, it may be easy to comment that why they are committing suicide. But the person who is undergoing that heaviness, only that person understands. And once Srila Prabhupada was asked, when I think it's Chicago or somewhere, one of the police superintendent of jails, he asked, how can we, you are teaching so much thing, how can we take this knowledge and make our inmates, the residents of this jail, become the regular normal citizens? Srila Prabhupada says, what is there? Very simple. Just teach them these things and make them chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. They will be relieved of not only the bad habits that they have, they will be transformed to Pakka Brahmanas. That is the reason I believe then it started in ISKCON, the preaching in jails. What a beautiful thing, right? We are talking about the normal society. Srila Prabhupada is a versatile personality and great Acharya is a very compassionate. He gave this, see, when he came to America, he came with two things. I mean, a couple of things, and highlighting money is important, right? When we go for a tour, what we do, we make sure that all our plastic cards are there. These days, right, we don't carry cash, but we make sure that our digital wallet is there because we don't want to go through the problems. But Srila Prabhupada came with $7. Just imagine in that days whatever that value, nothing. And then he didn't have any sponsors, but just he had only faith, utmost faith in the Lord. And then he came with a book full of, a trunk full of, a book full of, a trunk, a suitcase full of transcendent literature. And what is that transcendent literature? Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Only those are the two things, nothing. And then it is amazing that if we want to appreciate and if we want enhance our attachment to Sri Krishna, the first step, in my opinion, reading or learning or studying Srila Prabhupada journey. It's amazing. So in our busy lives, it is very difficult. I just give you a simple tip. The devotees have made it very simple because we like to see rather than read, right? Rather than hear. Because if you look at studying, hearing, and watching, which one you prefer? We prefer watching. It's very easy because we just watch and then understand so many things. So they have created a series called Abhaya Charan, and the reason I'm sharing, I'm one of the benefited of watching that series in 2007, and during that time we were on uh, traveling. We, even though we at home, then we went to Pittsburgh just to go for an independent consulting. And that time, every day, that was our. Of course, that time we were not so much deep into philosophy or some kind of entertainment we want to have. So when my wife visited Vrindavan, she bought these Abhay Charan CDs. We are so glued to watch that every day we used to watch. It's like a serial for us. Soap serial these days, we watch. So I highly recommend watching that. That will uplift you. That will give you what kind of contributions Srila Prabhupada gave. And it is unimaginable, mind blowing. As such an old man at the age of 65 years, he comes to America. What a great thing. Nobody can think. In fact, he's in the Vrindavan. See, at that age, people anchored. They will say, okay, we want to go to pilgrimage, right? Now, our four ashramas, one the ashramas, this is one, right? Vanaprastha. They want to go to, then is already there, but he's now want to go from there to come America. And one of the person asked him, "What is this? You are at this age. People like to come here, but you are going out of Vrindavan. What for?" Then Srila Prabhupada says, "I'm kind of different person." Of course, he says, "I my Guru Maharaj asked me to go and preach this. So I want to give a sincere try. See, a devotee doesn't think that he's the doer. He thinks what is within my capacity, I will perform. Rest is Krishna's. So even Srila Prabhupada writes so many. One of the poem when he was in Jaladuta, the ship where he was traveling to America, a beautiful prayer, and the last line which I remember and meditate on them. He says, Krishna, you brought me to this land where I don't have anybody, but yet I am your puppet. You make me either dance or whatever, however you want me to dance, I will dance. See, that's a complete surrender. He is completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord. That is the reason. Can anybody imagine a old person coming to a place which is not conducive for his sadhana? Because when it is in India, it's a all weather. Here, the at that time the food is not is easy for Vaishnava is a vegetarian, but yet he established the first 1 year is so much challenge, but yet he was able to establish this ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Conscious. Very beautiful, right? It's not easy. Now, that is the greatness of the Acharyas. They are very compassionate, and because of him, I am able to read Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, devotees also made it even easy. Everything is even available digital form. Okay, so where we are, the third topic. I'll try to wrap up. Sthanam position. And now, okay, the fourth one is Poshanam. So the Lord's protection for the devotees, right? See, now we buy so many things in this world, right? Insurance is one aspect, right? Whether we eat or not, the insurance is the one we should have it, right? And these days, even we are going for the life insurance. So far, because we want to be make sure our dependents won't have any financial troubles in our absence. It's very, very important responsibility. So now here the Lord, the Bhagavatam says how the Lord has protected his devotees, right? Srimad Bhagavad Gita, right away, the Lord himself he says, अनन्याश्चिन्तयन्तो मां ये जना पर्युपासते तेषां नित्याभियुक्तानां योगक्षेम्यं वहाम्यहम्. So yogakshamyam vahamyam. I will take the charge of their yoga, their yogam, right? Their welfare. What else we want? So that happens for the people or the jivas who surrendered. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, from Srimad Bhagavatam, we learn Prahlad Maharaj. Look at that small kid, how he was tortured by so-called his father, but his unalloyed faith repeatedly he come through those problems without any problem. Like that, so many pastimes we see. So that is the beauty of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It is all about pastimes. Very attractive, easy to digest, easy to understand. Then fifth topic, uthi, inclination to act, right? See, another thing is we hear so many things, but unless we put in action, what is the use of such theoretical knowledge? So we have to put action. So, and now, if you haven't taken that serious act of reading Srimad Bhagavatam, act from today. And often Indians, from me myself, also with Indian background, we always look for muhurta, right? What is good muhurta? For a devotee, every minute, every moment is auspicious because he's in that meditation all the time. So the Lord's names, it doesn't have in all times, in all circumstances, in all situations, it is pure because it purifies wherever that the Lord's glorification are happening. It's like Srila Prabhupada. I love Srila Prabhupada. He gives such an analogy you can't even think of. So when I was contemplating about this muhurta, durmuhurta, satmuhurta, and all that, Srila Prabhupada says, sun is there, right? Then anybody can sun contaminate? No, sun falls, sun rises falls. on pure water, on dirty water. Even he gives an example on the urine also. Is it by sun rays falling on the urine, his sun is getting contaminated? No. Sun, in fact, sterilizes that place also where dirty things are there. So that is the capacity. So there is no fast and rules. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave it liberally to everybody, wherever, however you want, just use it, Baba. That is the glory of the Acharya, so compassionate. And that is the reason they say, Kali Yuga, you people are so blessed, you don't have any regulations. Because in this transcendent literature, it is said that in the previous yugas, people who think in mind, they have to go go through that reaction. Oh Baba, if that happens in this age, I can never think of going back to Godhead. But we are giving that. Okay, in Kali Yuga, don't worry. Whatever dirty things have come to your mind, don't worry, Baba, unless you execute it. That is the assurance. So the process is made from that perspective because according to my small tiny nature. Okay, now six, Manvantara, the regime of the Manus, how the Manus have extended this whole creation. That also be in detail given. Now seventh, I'm just rushing because in the interest of time. Ishanukata, the topics of the Lord's various incarnations and his devotees. Like we all know, right? Matsyavatara, Kurmavatara, and all these details have been given. And then Nirodha, annihilation. So this whole creation created and it also gets annihilated at one point. Those details also given. And then Mukti, liberation. So when Jivas, it's one day I have to leave this body. And then what is my journey? So all that liberation, everything is in detail given. And finally, it talks about Ashraya, the taking the shelter of the Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So all these 10 topics have been described or narrated in Srimad Bhagavatam. So how beautiful, isn't it? We started glorification of the Srimad Bhagavatam by Sanatan Goswami. And then we talked about how the Srimad Bhagavatam is very important in our life. And finally, what is in the Srimad Bhagavatam? All those 10 topics also we briefly um, read. So this is how Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam, there is so much, even on just glorification itself, we can talk, we can hear so much, so much. So very nice. It is today. And I'm very glad that I could able to read and bring those acharyas uh, glorifications. And it is my for my own personal purification I did. Nothing I have created. So thank you very much. And it is 8:26. So if you have any comment or anything, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Please
Hare
accept my
Krishna
humble
Mataji.
reverence. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Srila Gurudev.
Jai Mataji.
Prabhuji, very nice, very nice presentation, Prabhuji. I really liked it. And there were so many things I liked, but my memory doesn't go with me that well. But I'll tell you, few like when you were mentioning the difference between the pastime and story,
Hmm.
it was really nice, you know. So that was really nice, and how you were describing Srila Sanatana Goswami's glorification on Srimad Bhagavatam. And there was one more thing I'm trying to remember. I don't remember, Prabhu. The, uh, but if I remember that.
Oh, thank you, Mataji. It's all devotees. Because another thing is, Mataji, go ahead. You are saying something.
No, Prabhuji, I'm listening to you. Yeah.
another thing I also heard, Mataji, the spiritual knowledge, we also say, because Bhagavatam, when Parikshit Maharaj was hearing this one, who is so it was first spoken by the right to the first spoken to the Parikshit Maharaj. So when we hear Bhagavatam from devotees, still it enhances our understanding, our attraction for the Srimad Bhagavatam. So it is very, very Srila Prabhupada. I always, it is my, I mean, Srimad, whatever little attraction that I have, if Srila Prabhupada wouldn't have come to this part of the world, I don't know what my life would have been. So
Yes,
it just
Prabhuji.
yeah, the Srila Prabhupada.
Yes, yeah. Yes, thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hope we'll see you in the evening. Are you coming, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. Coming in the evening. Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.